Hello everyone, welcome to Navamsa Houses. Yes, it's time to expand on the videos already on my channel, been there for quite a while now, on the Navamsa D9 chart. In this video, I'm expanding on the understanding of the houses in the D9. I've already touched on this, but we're going to go a lot deeper on this video. I hope you'll find this useful and helpful. If you do, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, of course, sub below. Great to have you on board. Let's begin. So what exactly is a Navamsa chart called the D9? It is the 9th divisional chart. It is the 9th harmonic chart, which is calculated from your D1 or your birth chart. So understanding Navamsa is essential to understanding destiny because number 9 is the highest number. 9th division gives you the ultimate results of this incarnation. Now, once again, I'm referring you to my previous video on my channel. Been up there 3 or 4 years in which I have certainly explained about D9 houses. I have explained about basically many of the things I am going to expand on here. And certainly I have explained the importance of Navamsa there for relationships. But let's just get one thing correct. Navamsa chart D9 is working in your destiny from the moment you are born, as are all Varga charts. Like I said previously, it's so important to understand this. It doesn't just kick in when you get to a certain age. This is absolute nonsense. It does not kick in only when you get married. Certainly it applies to your spouse. Definitely. It applies to relationships in your life, but it doesn't just start to manifest. So get this idea finished, everybody. Navamsa is working in a child's chart, a child's destiny. Why? Because they are alive. As soon as you are born, your destiny begins to manifest. We all know this. And D9 particularly represents the 9th house, the house of Bhagya fortune. So the Navamsa is your fortune. What is the maximum fortune you can get? And it is due to past life karmas. And don't forget, and this is another really deep understanding, fortune is good fortune, but it is also difficult fortune. Fortune is not just good, it can be difficult. So all of the hurdles, all of the blessings, they are all shown in the D9 Navamsa. And understanding the trine houses in the Navamsa, as I have shown you here, the houses which are trine each other have a specific part in showing us destiny. Once again, in my previous video, link below, I have shown you clearly how these Navamsa trines are essential to understand. Let's look at them quickly. The Dharma Trine, the first house in your D9, 5th house D9, 9th house D9, forming this triangular shape. These are about Dharma. D9 is about fortune and Dharma because the 9th house is about Dharma, and this D9 brings those 9th house fortunes to their ultimate conclusion. That's what's happening. And these trines, seeing planets in them, again, check my previous video, as I say, been up there for ages. I've explained about seeing planets there for your talents, for your ability, but really, what it's showing you deep is Dharma. Do you act dharmically? What is Dharma? Righteous action, good action. Have you fulfilled dharmic action past life? How will we find out? We will see these trine houses in the D9 Navamsa. And if you have, they will give you talent, skill here, and they will definitely give you inner purpose because dharmic action gives us fortune. Fortune of marriage, by the way, D9 is about marriage, but this only happens due to past good karmas. Then the Artha Trine, the 2nd house in your D9, 6th house and 10th house are very important for wealth. These houses must be seen, particularly 10th house, and we're going to look at that in this video. The Kama. Kama, not karma. Kama means enjoyment, pleasure, sex, basically. Kama Sutra, right? So these are the houses which are showing you the definite sexuality of this life and your pleasure principle in life, specifically in relation to spouse, society, people. Third house, seventh house, 11th house, D9 brings significant others into your experience. They are very important trine to understand. Now, the Moksha Trine. Moksha means liberation. The 4th house, the 8th house, the 12th house. These three houses connect to each other in the D9 at a very deep level. These are water houses. They are very sensitive areas indeed in the Navamsa chart. So these houses definitely relate to your health, but they relate to what gets you free from attachment on the path to moksha. This can be seen D9. So that's a big dichotomy, isn't it, everyone? D9 Navamsa is about fortune, but it isn't just relationship fortune. It's the fortune to not have to take birth again. On a deeper level, these houses relate to that as well. Before we go on, though, very important, take care to rectify D9. Even if you have a hospital record, you think you know for certain, D9 ascendant could be changing in a minute or so. Every 15 minutes, it will certainly change. But even at a closer time, you should rectify it. How do you do it? Once again, check the video on my channel. The link is below, D9 Navamsa. I have given you techniques there. Check it carefully. Now, what is the first house in the D9 Navamsa? The first house is you. In any Varga chart, everybody, first house represents you. In relation to what? In relation to the Navamsa, to the D9. So, you in relation to your fortune. What is the fortune of your life? What is your bhagya? What is your dharma? How do you act in a good way, or do you do not so good things? It's all shown coming from this first house. Planets here and the Lord, as they go into this chart, show these factors. And of course, it definitely relates to you as you relate to other people, specifically relationships and your spouse. So the first house, D9, specifically relates to your fortune from past life. What deeds did you do that will give you good or bad fortune this life? Check planets here. They are natural talents you have. They are the first way you react to everything. Malefics here can be a bit strange because you react in a malefic way to circumstances. You can be aggressive if you have Mars here. You can be a bit standoffish if you have Saturn here. You can be very individualistic, very rebellious if you have Rahu here. You get the idea. But you see, first house Navamsa relates to your first breath as well, the beginning of your fortune, the moment you were born. So planets in here, aspects to the house, show us circumstances of your birth. Did you have cesarean section? Did your mother, have cesarean section? Was there complications? All of those things. First house Navamsa tells us about this. And it's the first of the trine houses, 159, that relate to your skill. Specific natural skill. If you have Mongala here, you're a natural fighter. If he is well placed by sign, if he has good aspects, you will win in the fights. But you can create conflict in your relationships of necessity by this fighting quality. But it's coming from your past life. It's something which is truly natural to you. That's the thing. If you have Venus here, you can be a born artist, a peacemaker, somebody who naturally does good relationships, relates to others generally well, because Venus represents these things. Mercury communicates a funny person, laugh a minute maybe. It doesn't have to be here, but aspecting first house, we can see the same thing. These talents are innate. They are coming from the circumstances of your past life. Now, the second house in your D9 Navamsa is correlating, if you like, to the 10th house meaning generally, because first house is like 9th house fortune, so second house will be about 10th house status, career, attainment in life. So second house having benefics gives you good status, gives you wealth. So it can be a very good Artha house, creating fortune for you. Second house, D9. And second house D9, of course, just like all second house, is about what you take in, what feeds you, what nourishes you, and who feeds you, who nourishes you, gives you sustenance, but psychological security as well. And I've seen second house D9 can really shake your confidence if there are malefics here, because you don't feel secure inside. This lack of security gives you difficult situations when you are gathering substance around yourself. So second house D9 can actually show difficult traumas happening early life as well. But generally, benefics here can give you wealth, can help you keep wealth, invest it well. Business people, benefics help here very much. But the second house has a special meaning, D9, just like in D1, but here it's super important for your second marriage. First marriage, 7th house, and 8 houses away shows a break. So what causes you to end first marriage, first deep committed relationship? And what is your second commitment like? Both the ending of the first marriage, beginning of the second relationship, and your second spouse themselves. What they look like, how they are, everything can be seen from the second house in your D9 Navamsa. Now, the third house in your D9 Navamsa is the first house of the Kama Trine, 3, 7, 11. I talked about that at the beginning of the video. If you skipped that, go back and listen, because Kama houses have a specific signification which you need to understand. Kama means desire. It means sexuality. It's about sex. It's about attraction. Third house generally is about sexuality in the birth chart as well. It isn't just siblings. It isn't just neighbors, communication. You have to understand deeper meaning of the houses, or Navamsa houses never make sense. So check carefully planets in your third house, everyone, D9, or aspecting third house in this chart. When they are malefic, particularly Saturn, Ketu, Rahu, Mangala, they can give you difficult situations around sexuality and sexual desire. They can make it strong but challenging sometimes. On these planets, though, all of the planets, whether they are benefic or malefic in the third house, aspecting it, or even lording the third house in the D9, show you who turns you on. What sort of person are you sexually attracted to? And the third house, of course, relates to the 11th house, correlates to it, just like 9th house is the first house, 10th house, this is 11th. So the correlation factor is important. 11th house means gain. So the third house in the D9 of Navamsa can show gain, where you gain resources, people who are fortunate for you, people who open doors for you. Luck in your life generally can be seen by the sign, planets, and aspects to the third house in your D9. So say you've got Rahu here. We could say you could be sexually attracted to people from different cultures. You could be very independent sexually. You could have alternate sexuality occasionally, or you could have luck from outsiders, people who are rebels, people who are from different cultures. If you have Venus here, you can have luck from females. You can make judgments in this way. Now the fourth house in your D9 chart, everyone. Just like all fourth house is about home, comfort, mother maybe, domestic situation at the back of it, yes. But primarily it's a Jala house, Moksha house. It is about liberating factors. Deep spiritual factors can be here because you see, first house is 9. So 9, 10, 11, 12. 12th house at the back here correlating shows that fourth house has a deep spiritual factor. Materially, though, it relates specifically to your health. So, will your good fortune past life give you good health? You see it by the fourth house in the D9. Planets here show health problems. Planets aspecting show health issues as well. Therefore, we tend to see that the fourth house lord in this D9 Navamsa, or the planets in the fourth house, or both sometimes, will certainly affect you Mahadasha by health indications. So, fourth house lord, planets fourth house, Mahadasha and Bhukti, don't forget the Bhuktis, have a health implication. In addition, fourth house, D9, is the place of the 64th Navamsa. Some of you may know about this, some of you may not. 64th Navamsa, just like 22nd Drakana, is called Kara. Kara means it's a difficult indication for trauma, change, health concerns, and deeply affects longevity. Therefore, planet in this fourth house, D9, lording the house, can become a Kara indication. But don't get this wrong. Don't think planet in this house, Mahadasha, is going to kill you or the Lord's going to kill you. Don't think like that. There are many other factors we have to see, and this is one of them. Certainly, that planet brings you into big change in your life. That's the thing. In addition to this, though, everyone, the fourth house is a Jala water house. I've just shown you. It shows emotion. It shows vulnerability, actually. It correlates to the 12th house, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. That's how it's going, as I've shown you. So 12th house is the bed pleasures. So fourth house in the D9 chart has a lot to say about intimacy with our partner. And by intimacy, I don't mean sex itself. Don't forget, we've just discussed that's the third house and the 7th, 11th. You see, Kama house. No, this is Jala water emotion. I mean intimacy of sharing our heart, being vulnerable with our partner's spouse. Can we show our true feelings, or are there barriers to that? So when we have malefics influencing this house in any way, in the house certainly, lord of the house, even aspecting, but certainly in the house, lording the house, we can have barriers to that true heartfelt sharing sometimes. And don't forget, by the way, Sun is a malefic as well. So Saturn, Mars, Rahu, Ketu, Sun, having an influence here can show barriers to intimacy, but we can acknowledge it and work on it. That's the thing. The fifth house of the D9 chart, Navamsa, represents once again the Dharma Trine 159. It gives you skill, wonderful skill from past life. And these planets, these skills shown here, fifth house, come naturally. They are so uniquely you. They are very special. They are fortunate for you. They can actually even give you fame. How is that happening? Because once again, we have to correlate 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. This fifth house relates to the first house, you. First house is about fame. So this fifth house Navamsa gives you talents which can sometimes give you fame. If you have many planets here, you've got a whole store of natural talent. As I say, check out my video D9 to see about these specific talents, or even the Lord of the House can show talent. Say you have Gemini here, then you get talent communicating, etc. Thing is that these talents are so unique, you don't like to be told how to do them. You will do them your way. Check out Johnny Depp's chart, for example, on my previous D9 video. He's got a whole pile of planets here, and he is a very unique actor, very talented, and this uniqueness has actually got him fame. Now, the 6th house in the D9 chart relates again to the Artha Trine, 2, 6, and 10. So this house can also bring wealth, particularly where you serve others, where you have skills, 5th house, which give you gain. But it's about serving others, hard work. That's the whole principle behind the 6th house. And the 6th house D9 relates to working for employer particularly. So giving service, working in a larger organization, something where you are contributing to the team, this sort of thing. So 6th house is a growth house over time. So definitely 6th house can show gain D9. So if you get gain from service, from employment, 6th house D9 will be strong, not afflicted. If you get gain from self-employment business, 7th house D9 will be strong. That's a general indication, but you have to see D10 as well. That should correlate with these indications certainly. Does it have health indications? Once again, this is where confusion comes. 4th house is the house of health in the D9 Navamsa, fortune, past life bringing us health or difficulties with our health. We've just discussed it. 6th house relates specifically to taking in substances, and addictive tendencies can be seen here because it's the 2nd house to this 5th house. So it's coming around here, indicating 2nd house, taking in food, digestion. These issues can be shown particularly in this D9 Navamsa. The 6th house D9 can give you many competitive situations, many stressful situations, workplace certainly, but also in relationships, because it is the whole chart about relationships. For example, if the 7th Lord has gone into this 6th house, there can be divorce, separation, or there can be a situation where you think about it, even if you don't actually do it. So it's not a definite indication of divorce, separation, but it shows stress with your marriage partner, particularly in the first relationship. By the way, that can also be seen when the 7th house Lord has gone into the 8th house. They are still Dustana houses, but they have deeper meanings in this D9. I hope that is becoming obvious now. Now, the 7th house in the D9 Navamsa relates to the spouse, definitely the spouse. As we are going around, you see, it gets a 3rd house implication because it also relates to kama factors, sexuality, sexual desire, etc. But it specifically represents spouse, and the first spouse, deep, long-term relationship in particular. Now, don't forget, like all Navamsa houses, there are different layers of meaning to the house. But the first layer of the 7th house is first partner, marriage. First marriage, long-term committed relationship. This becomes their ascendant, and the whole Navamsa can be read as a chart for them from this house. Like this is ascendant for them, 2nd house, their wealth, 3rd house, how they like to argue with you, and so on, right around the chart. Now, certainly on a very superficial level, but a very true level, malefics coming into this 7th house, like Mars, Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, Sun, can show stresses in the first intimate relationship, definitely. But to some extent, that planet will affect all relationships. How come? Because this is your desire. That planet is the type of person you are attracted to. These are karma houses. Sun is here, let's say. You like powerful people, or you attract powerful people, or you are a powerful person. You attract bossy person who's a bit bossy, or you become a bit bossy in relationship. It's always a bit like a mirror, if you get the idea. And the 7th house D9, because it has a 3rd house implication, as we've been doing right through this video, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, this can give you communication skill. Are you a good communicator? Do you communicate well in life generally? Do you get skill there? Do you get power there through your speech, through your communication with others in general? 7th house D9 shows you a lot about that. It can even give you business skill because 7th house is a general business house. Now, the 8th house is a very sensitive house, very challenging house in the D9 because it shows stresses, traumas, difficulties that can break relationships, put stress on relationships generally. Particularly when the 7th house Lord is here or the 1st house Lord is here, there can be difficulty maintaining relationships. There can be infidelity sometimes, there can be stresses, there can be many temptations because this 8th house gives temptation to break the relationship. It can be extremely stressful house in the D9 Navamsa. So the termination or the stresses or divorce of the first relationship can be seen 6th house, but also 8th house, and indeed 2nd house because it is 8 away. So these are the really sensitive houses about maintaining the first marriage: 6th house, 8th house, 2nd house. When the 8th house is a very strong house, it can show jealousy, possessiveness, difficulty, but they are happening because of tendencies, yes, but because of difficult situations developing. I have definitely seen this. But don't forget, 8th house in every chart is trauma, yes, but transformation. It gives resilience. It gives rejuvenation as well. It's very important to understand this because you see, 8th house can put you through difficult situations when it is strong D9. But stronger it is by the aspects, even malefics here. Don't be concerned. They can bring you out of very difficult situations by their strength. That's the thing. It affects health deeply, just like 4th house, 8th house, 12th house. I've discussed them. Jala, water houses. Chronic health issues can be here. Many stresses and sudden changes, surgery, difficulty. They are shown in this 8th house D9. But the good news, once again, we come out of this. The 8th house D9 can give fortune dealing with ill fortune. In other words, difficult things happen, but they are good for you because this D9 is the actual chart of Bhagya fortune. So if we have fortune, even though we get stress, trauma, difficulty, we come out of it. That's the thing. What I've seen is a lot of activity going on here, malefics here, all of that stuff happening. The 8th house D9, people can come out of the most difficult situations. You know, those situations where people say, oh, it was awful at the time, but I'm glad it happened. That's what we're seeing in the 8th house D9. Now, the 9th house in the D9 is one of those Dharma houses again, everyone, like the 1st, 5th, 9th. As I say, beginning of the video, bring you good fortune through your good actions past life. Dharmic action. Are you a dharmic person? 9th house says a lot about how you do good action. But primarily, it will show you about skill. Once again, innate skill, yes, but skill this time that you need to be taught. You need an instructor with these skills. The difference is, whereas the 1st house talent and skill and 5th house talent and skill is innate, you don't need a teacher necessarily so much. And 5th house, as I've just said, you don't want a teacher, you do it your way. 9th house skills are benefited by being taught. You get taught a skill and you become expert in this skill. So planets in the house, lording the house, show special skill that come out when you get taught. For example, Sun here K2 here, Mangala, fire planets. You could be good in Jyotish, astrology, but you would need a guru teacher. If you have, let's say, moon here, you could be a very good cook, something like that, dealing with food, Venus, designer, artist, etc. You get the idea. But you need a teacher guide because that's how the skill is going to actually manifest. Now, the ninth house is naturally house of religion, dharma, doing right actions, knowing right versus wrong. Did you do good dharmic actions past life? Check the ninth house of your D9. Will you continue to do those actions? Will you benefit from them? Ninth house planets, ninth house lord, where they are particularly, the ninth house lord, show us that. Do you have strong principles? You can see it by the ninth house in the D9. And as it has a fifth house implication, I've just said, comes around to number 5, this can relate to children. A lot about your children this life can be seen by studying the ninth house itself in the D9 Navamsa. Of course, as always, it's about father to some extent. Biological father shown here, ninth house, but teachers, gurus, generally. Do you have problems with them, difficulties, misunderstandings with your teachers, lecturers in your education situation? Malefics D9 here show that developing with your father, cut off, difficulty, separation. Malefics can show it. Or the Lord could be malefic, but especially planets in the house. The 10th house, topmost house in the chart, is very important in the D9 chart. It's an Artha house like 2nd and 6th, and it definitely has a lot to do with wealth. Probably the most important wealth house you can see is the D9 Navamsa 10th house. Put quite simply, when you have benefics like Venus, Jupiter, Mercury sometimes, Moon sometimes. I say Mercury sometimes because see Mercury D1. Is he benefic there or malefic? Mercury with malefics becomes malefic. You have to see him in the birth chart, not here. So if Mercury is good, D1 birth chart, he becomes good here. He can be excellent 10th house. If the moon is a bright moon, not a dark moon, in your birth chart, he can be very auspicious in this Navamsa 10th house. Auspicious for resources. So benefics bring resources in this 10th house. Now, this mightn't be patently obvious to you, especially when you are young. You might think, what resources? I haven't got any, but you will. They will come to you at the right time, the right circumstance, definitely. Benefics here open up the ease of attaining resources when you are ready for them. Now, don't forget, this is important to understand. This overlays to the 6th house conflict. If you have malefics though here, you have a lot of conflict keeping resources, getting the job. There's so much competition, it's getting you down. How can I ever get the position, get the promotion? 10th house, D9. Having malefics gives you a lot of competition with your career, with your status, and definitely competition getting resources. You see, malefics here, that's the Sun, Mars, Rahu, Ketu, Mangala. Even though you might think Sun is good 10th house, it will give competition, stresses, keeping resources. You may get multiple wealth by many other factors, but keeping it, making it work for you is not easy. That's the thing. Whereas benefics give ease, bring the wealth to you. You don't have to do anything. It will come to you. Perhaps it will be inheritance. Perhaps you will just get the most marvelous promotion when you do not expect it. Doors open to you. Why is it happening? Why are benefics helpful 10th house D9? Because they show that you were charitable last life. You gave a lot. So this life, it's going to come back. It's that simple. So once again, get this right. 10th house is important for bringing you fortune of money, wealth, most important house for that D9. But please remember, very rich people can have malefics here, but they will have stresses with the money. Stress is maintaining it. Stress is getting it. Whereas benefics here give you ease of attainment to the wealth because it is coming from your past life Bhagya. Therefore, it cannot be taken from you. If you seem to be losing wealth, everyone, and you have got benefics here, it's coming back. At some time, it will replenish itself, I promise you. Now, what you do for your career, what you do for your living can be related sometimes to this 10th house. Say you have Guru here, you can be a teacher, Venus, designer, all of these things. But that's just a general factor. It's about Artha. It's about getting money. It's about maintaining resources in this D9. And it's about beating competition. Favorable planets here, competition just dissipates. You go for the interview and there's nobody else there virtually, or the ones who are there are just not suitable. It's just the right time for you, place for you. So this is all coming because of past life Bhagya fortune. The 11th house in the D9. Once again, we have different levels to understand. First of all, counting around, as we have been doing, it becomes the 7th house correlating to. Therefore, the 11th house in the D9 Navamsa has a lot to do with maintaining relationships generally. This 11th house shows society generally because it relates to the 7th house, society. So going into society, will it obstruct relationship or maintain relationship? Do you get jealous? Does your spouse get jealous? Do you have societies in common with your spouse? Interests, social interactions in common with your spouse? If it is a favorable house, benefics here, Lord Benefic, it can connect you to your spouse through your social interactions together. This can be seen. When there are malefics here or even lording the house, but specifically in the house, there can be clashes, difficulty. Your friends may obstruct the relationships in your life. You can get into conflicts in your friendship, societal interactions, which can impact negatively on your spousal situation. This can be seen, but a lot of deep study of the factors has to be done. In a positive way, 11th house helps you sustain relationships by bringing you close to your spouse in society. Say you've got Guru in the house, Jupiter here, or lording the house, Pisces here, Sagittarius here, then Guru factors. Religion, maybe going to religious situations together, church, temple, going to pilgrimage, or education, Jupiter, or children, because Jupiter is kids, bring you together with your spouse, help you to maintain the relationship. Should take everything positively here because it is a fortunate house. Generally, you should see that, say you've got malefics here, Mars, then perhaps rather than getting into quarrel, contention with your spouse, quarreling about friendship, network, circles with your spouse, this could happen, then do sporting activity together with your spouse, Mars. You have to see it in this way. Now, the 12th house in the D9 correlates to the 8th house generally. 8th house effect, trauma, difficulty, stress, transformation, certainly. Just like 4th house, 8th house, it's a moksha house. It's a very important house of transformation in the Navamsa. Because the 8th house relates to critical illness, 12th house does as well. 4th, 8th, 12th, they are all about health. I've shown you at the beginning of the video. So 12th house can show serious, difficult disease. It can show death as well. It can show death-like situations, or the actual death of the native can be seen here. But don't forget, there are many other factors to see relating to that, and I'm not going to show those on my channel not all of them, because this is not good to actually show this to the public. It's not something I'd want to do. But definitely 12th house can show critical situations health-wise. This is certainly seen by the Lord or by planets in the house, certainly. But when you need medical intervention, you see, having a strong 12th house D9, well-placed planets here, exalted planets, you can get good doctors, have a good surgical experience, if you like, where things come out okay for you. It's stressful, traumatic, yes, but you come out okay. So fortune goes with you in these difficult, traumatic health situations when you have strong planets in this 12th house D9. There's another reason why this 12th house can become stressful in intimate relationships, because it relates to quietude, solitude, even isolation. So strong 12th house, many planets here, or even exalted planet here, that's going to make it strong. You are going to want time alone. You're going to want quietude. You may need to meditate, do study on your own, or simply you're a very deep spiritual person. And this can give you challenges in the intimate relationship area. It can be hard to live with others, hard to share space. I've seen this many times. Now we've understood the D9 houses a little deeper. I hope this was helpful for you. We're going to go into the planets placed in the D9 houses. Look out for those videos. So in our next video, we will look at the sun placed in all the D9 houses. If you're new to my channel, of course, sub below. Great to have you on board. Goodbye for now, and God bless you all.